David A. Christian. I enlisted in the military at 17 years of age, and the military was good for me. And I moved very fast through the ranks. There was a war going on in Vietnam. So as a result, I became the youngest commissioned officer since the Civil War. So I was commissioned at the age of 18, and I was leading men in battle. When I was 19, I became a captain at 20. I wasn't old enough to vote or drink in the United States, back here in most states. But I returned and, led, I was very, very successful on the battlefield, but I got shot up pretty bad. I was machine gunned across the chest. I was paralyzed in my right hand, my ulnar nerve and medial nerve. I couldn't use my right hand. I was banged up. I had 40% of my body burnt with napalm. And I couldn't walk at first, so I used an electric wheelchair, then a regular wheelchair, and then crutches, then a cane. And then I ran a 26-mile marathon in New York and said to God, if you let me finish, I'll never hurt myself again. I've been fortunate to meet David many years ago. I've known him over a decade. David O, Councilman David O. I like Councilman David O because, like myself, he was willing to take on the military service, willing to put the uniform on, and willing to pay the ultimate sacrifice. And that is, when you become a military person, you sign a blank check, and that is that you're willing to give your life for your country. So he did that, and I did that, as all the other military members do. But getting out of the military, you're somewhat shocked because it's a social battlefield. And the social battlefield entails many people. I mean, you have first responders on the social battlefield, such as police and fire and those folks there, and also military people, the veterans, as they come back. And there's not a warm and fuzzy feeling for the veterans many times. And as they come back, and the biggest thing that I felt, that if you get a veteran a job, then it will cut down many social problems. It'll cut down domestic relation problems. It'll cut down abuse problems, substance abuse. It'll cut down many things because it gives a human being dignity that they have a job. So I look back, my mother was a veteran of World War II. My mother met my father in the Philippines. I look back and I see all these things in our society, and what is the biggest thing that I think that can help veterans in all of their issues, so they can get their minds off their disability, get their minds off some of the things that drain them. And the biggest thing is a job. And I saw in David O a champion to look for jobs. In David O, he also was working to get people jobs. Aside from running for city council, he is the proof in the pudding. He established legislation. He made friends and built bridges with different people. Whether they're Democrats or Republicans, he realized that we had to come together, the common denominator, and that was to get jobs. And he followed through on many programs, and which were job-related. I was very, very forceful. I felt I was blessed by God. And I was very fortunate also that I got to go to school. I got to do things. I got to marry. I got to come back here and help in society. And I could fight for veterans. And why did God give me so much? Yes, I had a lot of pain. Yes, I had a lot of suffering, but I had so much, and I could share that with people. But you need to have soldiers with you. And David O was a soldier, and we had many things in common. He's a paratrooper. You know the guts it takes to stand up and hook up. You shuffle to the door and you look out that plane, and that guy slaps you on the butt, and you say go, and you got to jump out of that plane. Your stomach is, sometimes on top of your head. It's a scary situation. David O had the courage to do that. He's a brother to me as a paratrooper. I bled on the battlefields, but my biggest pain did not come from a foreign battlefield, it came from the social battlefield back here. The enemy was easier to detect on the foreign battlefields than on the social battlefields back here, in trying to find a job, and having people discriminate against you, and not telling people that you're in the military, and not telling people that you're a veteran, and people finding a way to get around veterans' preference, and people trying to find a way to get around many things. The Veterans Administration itself, David O. challenged the Veterans Administration. There's more non-veterans that work in the Veterans Administration than there are veterans. So why isn't there any, empathy towards the veterans? Why is the professionalism sometimes lacking? Well, if you have people there that are looking down on the veterans, they work there. Logic, simple logic will tell you why the veterans are being treated or mistreated at times. Not all times, not all places, but they do. There are many, many stories about the treatment of veterans, and David stood forth, and he helped people, go down and fight for the disabilities at the VA hospital at 39th and Woodland. He helped people, and he helped different organizations work with veterans, get veterans jobs, get veterans off the streets, the homeless situation. Veterans don't know the legislation oftentimes. There should be no veteran on the street. There's a pension for veterans if they're destitute. Veterans don't know that. They can get a pension. David helps educate people. David O. is a man of courage. David O. is a man, he's a pioneer. He's the only veteran on city council. He's the only Asian. I think he's the first Asian to come on city council. I have great love and respect for a man who stands out, and he stands up, and he's proud of what he's doing, where he's come from. He's not ashamed that he is an Asian. He embraces the Korean community. He embraces the Vietnamese community. He embraces the Cambodian community. He embraces the Filipino community. He embraces the Japanese. He embraces those that had hardship when they came to this country here. David O. is a man of the people. And guess what? He embraces the black people and the white people also. He embraces everyone. David O. is colorblind, and he's first and foremost out to get a person a job, out to get a person their dignity back. And fortunately for the firefighters, he's fought for them. Fortunately for the police, he's fought for them. And I have to say, great fortune for the veterans that he has fought for us. And I'm glad to stand hand in hand with him. I've worked in Washington, D.C. I've worked under 4 different United States presidents. I've worked for the United States Senate in Washington, D.C. I've written legislation pertaining to Agent Orange, pertaining to post-traumatic stress. I've written that. I feel good that I've helped people, but I can only do it. I helped build the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. I helped do things, but you can only accomplish little things or big things with the people around you. And David O. is not embarrassed to surround himself with people that may be more qualified in a lot of ways. We're not all knowledgeable about building different things, monuments, and every avenue to get a job. He will bring people in that will help him. And if someone needs help, go to David O., Councilman David O. in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm sure proud of him. I consider him a brother in arms, and I consider him a brother on the social battlefield back here in America.